Hello students, welcome to N10 classes. So today we are having a topic related to biology, that is coordination in plants and phytohormones. In the previous lecture, we have read about nervous system and human brain. How does the information get communicated inside your body through CNS and PNS? Now today we are going to read about the coordination in plants. Now think of, in plants do not have nervous system or nervous tissue. So how do they communicate the information among themselves? Now, despite of not having sense organ, plants can respond to environmental stimuli. Plants coordinate their behavior using chemical communication, that is with the help of hormone, and that are called phytohormones. That means plant hormones. The movement of phytohormones requires cell-to-cell diffusion, so plants respond to stimuli very slowly. Now, these phytohormones are nothing but some chemical substances. So here, as the plants lack nervous tissue, they are using an alternative mode of communication, that is your chemical communication, and that is through chemicals called hormone. Now, chemicals cannot get transferred very fast, so they need cell to cell diffusion, which is very slow. So the responses of the plants are very slow. Now let us see what is the difference between the transfer of information as an electrical impulse through nervous system and chemical communication. Now, in case of electrical impulse, the information as electrical impulse pass through the neurons or the nervous tissue. But in case of chemical communication, chemicals or hormones pass through the cells using diffusion. Next, electrical impulse will reach to only those cells which are connected by nervous tissue. That is very important. That means those tissues which are connected by, or those tissues or cells which are connected by nervous tissue will get communicated. If it is not having any kind of nervous tissue, or it is not connected via any kind of nervous tissue, so information will not be communicated. So there, the alternative mode of communication that becomes vital, that is your hormones. Hormones can reach every part of your body because they pass through cell to cell diffusion. Though it is a slow process, but ultimately they will reach to their target. Now, in case of electrical impulse, the transmission is very fast, but in chemical communication, the transmission is very slow. Now, in electrical impulse, cells cannot continuously generate and transmit impulse. So that is a problem. That means once a cell has generated and transmitted a signal, it will take some time to reset its mechanism to generate and transmit another impulse. But however, this chemical communication can be carried out steadily and persistently. That is the important differences between electrical impulse and chemical communication. Now let us see about different hormones present in the plants. First comes auxin. This is very important. You'll get some short questions and some 3-mark questions about this. Now, auxin is present at the tip of the stem and root. So as it is present in the tip of stem and root, so you can guess that their function is for elongation or growth. Now see, it responds to light and gravity. It speeds up the growth of the stem. It moves away from the part of the plant where light falls. It is important because this auxin hormone helps in phototropism that we are going to read in this lecture. It promotes cell enlargement, cell differentiation, and fruit growth. Gibberellin, it is also a growth hormone. It works in the presence of auxin and promotes cell enlargement and cell differentiation. It promotes fruit growth, elongation of shoot, and breaking of dormancy in seeds. Cytokinin, this is also a kind of growth hormone. It promotes cell division in plants and breaks dormancy in the seeds and buds. It is present in great concentration in areas of rapid cell division such as fruits and seeds. Coming to abscisic acid, or it is also known as ABA. This hormone inhibits the growth of the plants. So its nature is quite different from the other three hormones present in the plant. It inhibits the growth of the plant. It promotes dormancy in the seeds and buds. It promotes closing of stomata, wilting, and falling of leaves. Now, what do you think? What could be its importance? See, in case of drought, or let's say in the hot summer, the when there is scarcity of water, plant cannot afford to lose water. In that case, what happens? Plants closes its stomata, due to which it will save some water from being that means in the case of transpiration, as you know, it loses water. To save those water from the loss during transpiration, it closes the stomata. Now that's why the plants get wilted during the summer. Now, movements in plants. In case of movement in plants, it is broadly categorized into two types. One is growth independent movements and another is growth dependent movements. Growth independent movements are also known as nastic movements, and growth dependent movements are also known as tropic movements. So what are those different kinds of movements? Let us see. Now this nastic movement or growth independent movement, plant neither move towards the stimulus nor away from the stimulus. So it doesn't depend upon the direction of the action of stimulus. But in case of growth dependent or tropic movements, plant either move towards the stimulus or move away from the stimulus. We'll discuss this. Now, growth independent movement in plants. So for example, response of some sensitive plants like touch me not towards touch. Now touch me not, its scientific name is Mimosa pudica. Now how does the plant detect the touch and how do the leaves move in response? Students, it has already come in the board exams as a 3-mark question, and this is just given as a sentence in the paragraph in your book. Now it can be a 3-mark question. Let us discuss this. Now what happens? As soon as the plant is touched, some chemical is released from the stem. The chemical produced by the touch forces the water of the leaves to move out of the cell of the leaf base. This causes the loss of torsion pressure and the leaves droop. After 15 to 20 minutes, the cells regain water and get back to their original shape. Now look at this. This is the leaf of a touch-me-not plant, which is now upright. Now you can see here it is a swollen base, which is also known as pulvinus. Now whenever the leaf is touched, a chemical get transmitted through the leaves, and here in the base at the pulvinus, it loses water immediately. When it loses water, it becomes placid, and that's why the leaves droop. Now let us watch a video. Now see here, this is the pulvinus, which is a swollen base of the leaf, and whenever the leaf is touched, a chemical it is getting transmitted through the leaves. Now whenever the chemical is transmitted, this chemical reaches the pulvinus, where the water from the pulvinus is lost, and due to which it becomes placid, and that's why the leaves droop. Now let us see about growth dependent movements or tropic movements. Now in case of tropic movement, the response of the plant depends upon the stimulus, from the direction of action of the stimulus. Now first comes thigmotropism. In thigmotropism is a directional response of the plant organ to touch or physical contact with solid object. For example, tendrils curving around a support. Now, the cells of the plants that are in contact with the surface produce auxin. The auxin will stimulate the non-contacted cells to grow faster, which will result in the plant curving around the contact surface. Now see, this is the support and these are the tendrils which are curved around it. So whenever the tendrils touch this solid objects, Then the auxin, which is present in the non-contacted cells, they promote growth, due to which it curves around the solid support. Next comes phototropism. Photo means light. So it is the directional response of the plant organ in response to light. The stem bends towards light and the root moves away from the direction of light. So the response towards the stimulus is called positive tropism, and away from the stimulus it is called negative tropism. So the bending of the stem towards light is called positive phototropism, and the movement of root away from the light, it is called negative phototropism. But students, how does it happen? Now let us see. The role of auxin in phototropism, it is also important. When sunlight falls only from one side, the auxin hormone diffuses towards the shady part of the shoot. That means it moves away from the light, as you have already read in case of function of auxin, characteristics of auxin. The accumulation of auxin in the shady part stimulate the cells to grow longer on the shady part. Thus the plant appears to bend towards light. Now see here students, when light falls uniformly from all directions or from upright direction, then the auxin is distributed all over the part of the stem, and that promotes the overall growth of every part of the stem. But when this auxin, when the light falls from only one side, the auxin it get deposited on the shady part. That means it moves away from the light. So here it promotes the cell growth and cell enlargement, due to which this part, shady parts, get elongated and it bends towards light. Next comes geotropism. Geo means earth. That means the growth of the parts of the plant in response to gravity is called geotropism. What is positive geotropism and negative geotropism? The growth of the root in downward direction, and that is towards earth, is called your positive geotropism, and the growth of the stem in upward direction, that means in the opposite direction of gravity, that is called negative geotropism. Now see, if you are going to keep this flower pot just in the tilted position, then you will see after some days the shoot part will grow upwards, that means just in the opposite direction of the gravity. So it is called negative geotropism because it moves away from the gravity. But in case of the root, they move towards the ground, and that means towards gravity, that is why it is positive geotropism. Next comes chemotropism. Chemo means chemical. So growth of the plant in response to chemical stimulus is called chemotropism. For example, growth of pollen tube towards ovule during fertilization. Next comes hydrotropism. The part of the plant that moves in response to water is called hydrotropism. Example, movement of the root towards water. Now see here students, this is a pollen grain which has fallen on the stigma. Now during fertilization, pollen tube is formed which gradually moves towards the micropyle, that means towards the ovule. Now see here, it has come and entered into the micropyle. Now this movement of the pollen tube towards the ovule is called chemotropism. Now see here an example of hydrotropism. Here there is a plant which roots are already grown. Now this is the moist soil. Now if you are going to keep water in a clay pot here, you will observe that the root will gradually move towards water. Now as it is moving towards water in response to water, it is called hydrotropism. So students, this is all about coordination in plants. In the next lecture, we are going to read about the hormones in case of human beings. Thank you.